Hi, everybody. I think we're going to get started. So, welcome. I'm Jen Cafferty, CEO of the Gluten Free Media Group, and I am super excited about our webinar today. We've got Adam Taff and Will Coatney from Karuna Consulting. And this is daunting to me. I didn't know that we were going to be on camera, and Adam's like, no, we should be there for them. So welcome. I hope we're not too scary in person. But I think the biggest thing today, and I'll do an introduction in a minute, is make this interactive. There's a Q&A panel through GoToWebinar, so type in all your questions, and Adam and Will get to them at the end. And then if there's something that they can't answer for you, don't worry about it. They'll email you at the end. We'll get them all of those. So hopefully we can make this really interactive and meet your needs. This is our second webinar in our series. We did Facebook with Samir a couple of weeks ago, and that was so successful that a lot of people wanted a follow-up, more in-depth webinar on Facebook. So Samir has graciously said that he will do that. He's planning that now. We'll have a date for that in the near future. So if that's something that interests you, just keep looking for that, and we'll get back to you soon. So without further ado, we're going to start our webinar. I'm super excited that Adam and Will are with us today. I actually met them at Expo West, so I feel like my money spent at Expo West for my company was worthwhile because I get to share them with you. What I really love about Karuna is they are a strategic company. They're there to meet your company's needs, and just like the Gluten Free Media Group does, we really look at your budget and create an individualized strategy for you. And I think that that's just so important today. There's not one answer that fits any company anymore. And so if your brand is really looking for something individualized, Adam and Will are just really good at that, and I think after the session today you're going to appreciate them a lot more and really glean some insight. And I was very excited to see their PowerPoint slides come through, and I'm excited to hear their presentation, so I can't wait to learn along with you today. So don't screw it up, guys, because we're very excited. So anyways, I'll let you guys take it over. I just think that they have so much to share with you. Again, at the end, we'll have a Q&A session, and just, pop your questions in, and we will go from there. So Adam, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Jen, and thank you, Laura, and thank you, everybody who's attended this afternoon. We know your time's valuable, and you're committing some time to hopefully get some takeaways today, and that's really the way we've created this presentation. Like any good top 10 list, we've included 33 tactics in the top 10 list today. So what that means is we're going to talk about a lot of things today, and there's going to be a lot of eye candy on some of these slides, and that's done for a purpose. So we're not going to go 10 feet deep on many things. We're going to touch on a lot of tactics and tools that hopefully apply to almost every company and every person on this presentation. I don't think everything's going to apply to everybody, but I think most of these things will apply to most of us on the call. With that said, Will and I did have a chance to review the website of every person who did register for this presentation. So we saw some really impressive things there, and there's also some things on many of the sites and many of the social media accounts that I think these tactics and these tools might be applicable and to help enhance and improve perhaps some of the approaches that might be currently being done out there. So let's take a look at who you're talking to. I think you can see us on the screen, excuse me, but I'm Adam Taff. It's really nice to be here. I'm the CEO of Karuna Consulting, and Will Coatney, who will be doing also some of the slides and presentation today, is the COO of Karuna. And together, I just want to really pledge to you that we are passionate about this space. We believe in companies that are sustainable, that are trying to add to the collective good energy and good health of this world. And so if you have any questions throughout this, please, like Jen said, please ask them, and we'll try to answer them by the end of the presentation. If for some reason we don't get to them, then we'll be very happy to answer any questions that you have post-webinar, and want to wish you success as we dive right into this. Okay, all set? Here we go. The foundation of a top 10 tactics that you must be doing this year starts with fundamentals. And you'll see in the upper left-hand corner of this slide that there are some truths that are true for 2017. They're also true for 2018, 19. They'll be true in 2050. And it's something that we all understand, but it's really important because it's the foundation of effective digital marketing. Whether you're a B2B company today, a B2C company, whether you sell amazing gluten-free products or maybe you sell widgets for someone's car, we all have the same need to be successful. We've got to get our message, our brand, the value proposition that we have and our features and benefits in front of our target audience. So if we can't do that, we're going to be challenged. If we can do that, we've got a great opportunity to convert them. Ultimately, if people understand about our company, about our product, and we can convert them to the action that we want them to do, whether it's frequently buy our product, but maybe it's to download a white paper, maybe it's to watch a video, maybe it's to attend a live event that we're going to be having in a town near them, then we've got a great chance of being successful. So everything we're going to talk about today is going to revolve around those first two things: acquiring our target audience to receive our message, getting our message in front of our target audience, and then converting them to what we want them to do. Once we've mastered those two things, then it's really important we put all that effort into acquiring and converting that traffic. We really want to retain them so we can get them to purchase and interact with us more in the future and go be evangelists and ambassadors for us in the future. And then finally, once we've got that mastered, then we can look for ways to monetize that traffic in collateral ways that are complementary to our business, not competitively, but complementary, and gain even extra revenue and extra influence from that existing group. Said simply, on the right side, traffic times conversion equals revenue. So let's dive right in, guys. Number 10. A lot of exciting things on this slide, a lot of arrows, a lot of check marks, but there's a method to our madness. Okay? If you notice on the upper left-hand corner, we talked about acquisition, conversion, retention, and monetization. If acquisition is the most important thing, then first we've got to figure out how to do that really well. To acquire traffic to our site, we've got to get out there and give people a chance to see our features and benefits. We want them to learn about our company. So we can do that on our own website by asking them to sign up for our newsletter. Here's a good example of Probulin. Probulin's a digestive health company. Notice in the upper portion of their header, it says our newsletter. Someone clicks on that. If they haven't already signed up, they get the opportunity to sign in. See the arrow that goes to the right over there? It says newsletter. That's also on the bottom of their homepage. So we want to give everybody a chance to see it above the fold, but as they get down to the bottom of that page, notice that we give a little better value proposition over there. Sign up for our newsletter and be the first to know about new product announcements and upcoming promos. Give that little bit of features and benefits just to get them incentivized to sign up. Notice that there's also an arrow that comes up to blog. Why would that be there? Now this is a big topic, but search engine optimization, organic traffic. Ultimately, we've got to get our message in front of our target audience, and the one way we do that is when they're out searching for information about something that would be related to us, we want our message, we want our content to be easily accessible. One of the ways that we do that is by a strategic content strategy, much of which involves writing content that's housed on our website. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later. But really important, creating a content strategy that's going to go out, proliferate our visibility across the blogosphere or the webosphere, and acquire and be exposed to and acquire more traffic to our website. Notice on the left over here we've got this big circle from Hemp Fusion in a Facebook post. They come right out and say it very easily and very quickly. We'd love it if you could share us with a friend of yours. Don't be afraid to ask. Have other people evangelize for you, grow your audience, increase your ability to acquire your traffic. On the bottom down there, this is one of the companies that has signed up for their webinar today, WildZora. WildZora is doing some best practices here. Now this is a little bit of taste and preference for each company. So Will and I are not here today to tell you must have a pop-up on your home screen. There's schools of thought of whether that can be intrusive and a bother to people on your website. And we understand that. So we don't say you have to do it, but we say you should consider it because it can be a very effective way to acquire people into your list, and especially if you give them a value proposition. WildZora has said here, hey, if you want to sign up for our newsletter, you're going to get a coupon code that's going to save you $6 on your next purchase. That's a nice incentive, and you can be creative with that as well. Once we've got them on our list, then we can message to them in the future as long as we want, giving them very creative ways to interact with our business. Okay, acquisition. Just a couple touches there, but I think we're getting the mindset that we can proactively go out and do things to acquire our target audience. Number 9, let's talk about conversion. Okay, this could be, Jen, you talked about the last webinar as being on Facebook. We could give a full series on conversion enhancements to a website. So we're just going to plant some seeds here, guys, but really important. So you'll notice there's a lot of imagery all over the screen. So let's kind of start from the top. This is blocking and tackling, guys, on the upper right side. Place your telephone number prominently above the fold. Now, there's a few reasons why we might not want to do that. I don't have the staff to man my telephone. What if someone calls after hours? I've got a good phone system. Understood. Once again, not everything on this page applies to everybody, but what's old is new again. People still will call, especially if you have a gluten-free product. People frequently will have questions. Is there sugar added? Is it vegan? Can I eat this if I take that? Is it going to affect anything else that I'm doing? And they're going to look for a phone number. They want to interact with you. If it's hard to find, they're going to get distracted. They might not interact with you. You're not going to convert them to what you want them to do. The old phone number still works. Look right below that. And you'll see this on a lot of websites. Free shipping. Does it cut into your margin? Absolutely. Is it something that's a culture online that people have come to expect? Absolutely. And what do we know about Amazon? People believe that they get free shipping on Amazon even though they pay $100 a year for Prime, because it's been ingrained in their mind that that actually is free. So there's a culture online where we see free shipping. And notice that Probulin here chose to say you get free shipping over $49.99. What's that do? It drives a little bit more of a cart value, makes that transaction a little more economical for them, but it's a great conversion tactic. Let's go over to the left side on the top of the page for a second. There's Wildzora again. What do you notice about those two presentations? 5-star reviews. People love third-party validation. I know you think your product's great. What do other people that have consumed your product, what do they think of that product? Seeing those 5 stars, you can just ask yourself, does that have a positive impact on me when I see that? And for most of us, the answer is yes. So having a strategy around that can be very effective. Let's go down on that left side. Provide your customers a subscription option. For most of you that are selling gluten-free products, it's a consumable. What do we know about consumables? People eat it, and they want to eat it again fairly soon. So nutritional supplements is a perfect example. Bottles come in 30 or 60. So what do we know about that? We take it for a month, and we need it after that month. So having someone sign up right at the start for a subscription really flattens out your revenue variance, really gives you a base of revenue that you can forecast and budget toward. And to be most effective, offering a 10% off, 15% off plus free shipping can really lock that subscriber in, and it's a great way to retain and lock in a long-term customer. Let's go right to the middle of that slide real quick. I'm just going to talk about it very briefly, but it's really important. I encourage you to go back on your websites, those of you that are selling online, e-commerce, and just go through the checkout process. How many pages does someone have to go through? If it's more than 2 pages, we know from history that your conversion is going to suffer. Every step in the process, people are going to leave your site. Often not because they want to, but because they get distracted. The phone rings. The baby just knocked over something in the other room. There's a loud noise outside, and they get distracted. Make that process as simple as possible. Let's go over to the right-hand side. Ensure your website is responsive. By responsive, you could say that another way. Make sure that it's mobile friendly. We just pulled this up from one of our clients. This is the traffic source, and you can see if you add mobile and tablet together, that's about 54% of their traffic is coming from mobile device, and it's only going to get stronger. If you don't have a great presentation from your handheld device for your consumer, you're losing conversions and you're going to lose revenue in the long run. Conversely, if it's a great tool, it's only going to get better for you as people become more and more ingrained to utilizing their phone for their e-commerce transactions. Just so you know, we have looked at everybody's website on here, and there are multiple websites from people who signed up for this webinar that do not have a responsive website. Not least of which is that Google will punish you on on search engine rankings for not having a mobile-friendly website. Let's look at the bottom there for a second. Invest in stunning product photos and imagery. Now that can be expensive. We get it. You know, Vega on the left-hand side of the screen there, very large, successful company, fast-growing. But you notice on the right-hand side, This is an image from someone who's attending the call today, also a successful company. But the point is, you don't have to spend a ton of money to get great imagery out there. And we know from consumer behavior that the more impressive the imagery is, the more you can paint the picture of what that experience is going to be like for them, the better it's going to help conversion. All right, let's go see what retention tools we can use. Email. Email today, still, when we advise clients, is the #1 channel for them to gain revenue from their existing database. In addition to nurturing their clients and to retaining and maintaining visibility, thought leadership, and closeness to the brand. We just gave an example on the right-hand side there. This is from Menergy Skincare, not necessarily a gluten-free company, but fascinating. They chose last year to do the 12 days of Christmas. As long as you can tie into something that we can all relate to, you can email people frequently. We don't normally like to email a database that frequently, but they decided that it was worth it for them, and they felt it was very effective for them. Generally, if you have a dozen to 2 dozen SKUs, then we're comfortable emailing to that list generally once a week. If you only have 1 or 2 SKUs, I would throttle that back a little bit. If you have many SKUs and you have a really diverse database, then you can segment that database out, and now you can have probably 8 to 10 to 15 emails going out a month, and it's going to take a little bit more of a strategy of that. Let's go to the bottom left of the screen here for a second. Create a subscription model with an incentive. So once we talked about that that's a great conversion technique, let's also talk about retention. What does it mean to retain someone? We want them to continue to buy our product. We want them to continue to engage in our company and our product forever if we can. Retention is a great way to do that. How many of us have our credit card on file someplace for a subscription and it gets charged $19.95? We don't even think about it. And even if we do think about it, frequently we just never get around to stopping that subscription. So it's a great way to extend the relationship with a client. And now what does that mean? We've got the opportunity to upsell them, provide additional value to them, or cross-sell them to some other products, and even maybe bring in a partner at an appropriate time. You know, if we sell tennis shoes, most people that want tennis shoes also need socks. And if we have friends that sell socks, what a neat way to introduce them and provide extra value to our database while also helping out a friend. Let's go to the right side here. Don't forget to create value for your community. Why do you stick around and continue to open an email from one of your people that you buy products from? There's really only 2 reasons. You feel like they're going to provide rich content for you that brings value to your life that you might not be able to get anywhere else, and that they're going to provide incentives or promotions to you that you're not going to be able to get anywhere else. Viga here says take 25% off the Viga Sports Protein. Notice that they got 1,900 likes on that and 17 shares. That's going out to 17 different folks that are going to share that as well. And they give that just to their community for folks who want to go out and engage with the product. I'm going to hand it over to Will now. So thank you guys. We talked about a lot of things for acquisition, conversion, retention. Will's now going to get a little bit granular and give you some specific examples about how you can apply some technology to some of these tactics. So Will, over to you.
Thanks, Adam. All right, guys, let's jump into a very, very important component to any marketing strategy today, video. I'm sure everybody's heard that this is the case, that it's a very, very important part of any marketing strategy, but let's talk a little bit about why. For starters, video is more, let's say this. Video is easier to consume than walls of text, right? It's just preferable. When we see video versus a wall of text, it's more compelling. Typically when video is done right in a shorter format, that 30-second to 2-minute range, it's extremely compelling. It's a great way to deliver lots of different kinds of messages. But the point is that it's too easy not to create right now. With something like an iPhone, you can create stunning videos that get your brand's message in a compelling way out to your audience. The other beautiful thing about video too is that it becomes multi-channel, right? Video can be presented on a website. It can be posted to social media feeds. It can be presented in a lot of other formats. You can embed it in emails. It's multi-channel, which makes it a very dynamic component when you're talking about how do I get my brand's message, my brand's products out to as many people in a format that they prefer as possible. So if you look on this slide, Hemp Fusion is a hemp-based health food product that had a pretty interesting run-in with Facebook Live, which is one of the more compelling ways to put out video these days. So Hemp Fusion was a vendor at Expo West and East. They were launching some new products, a whole new suite of products at the conference, and were able to jump in front of their booth with an iPhone 6, produce a Facebook Live video that just let people know just that. We're Hemp Fusion. We're very excited about Expo West, and we've got some pretty exciting news. We're going to be launching a new suite of products, and went into each of those products that were being launched. Now, one thing that's important to touch on, specifically with Facebook Live, is that Facebook Live is a relatively new feature in Facebook, and Facebook might not come out and say it, verbatim, but really it's indicative for them to treat that component or that video, this new feature, with a little bit of bias. And what I mean by that is, on the back end, where the inner workings of Facebook are going on, Facebook Live videos are going to get a little bit of special treatment for a couple different reasons. Number one, because video is more preferable form of content. It's that rich media that people enjoy. But secondly, they've got a new product that they're trying to market, and so they want people to embrace this new age internet with lots of rich media by using Facebook Live. So right now, out of the gate, there's a lot of advantages to using Facebook Live, and we can take a look at these numbers right here. So with the video, the Facebook Live that Hemp Fusion produced, they were very early on in their social media content strategy. Actually, they had less than 100 likes on their business page before they produced their first Facebook Live video. The video was not boosted, and you can look at some of these numbers. I mean, it's pretty incredible. Over 2,500 times that video was viewed, which allowed people to get to know Jason, the founder, get to know Hemp Fusion, the brand, and some more about their products. The video was shared 28 times, and I would say that this video went viral to a certain extent, given where they started with their social media presence. One of the reasons that it did go viral was because that let's see, I've got a poll that I'm looking at right now, so I'll continue on, but I can't really see the deck anymore for those. Okay, back online. Sorry about that. But one of the reasons that video was shared so much is because it was valuable content. So the relationship between how valuable and interesting and the format of the content is, the more likely it is to be shared. When content is shared, the exponential growth to that can be stunning, as we see in this example right here. So because hemp is kind of a buzzword, a little bit taboo, definitely a hot topic on the internet right now, because the video was produced using Facebook Live, and you've got a great presenter like Jason here in this video, you see that as a case in point. There was 23 comments, lots of engagement, and so the point is, for everybody listening, you guys all have products just like Hemp Fusion does. You guys all have iPhones, and you guys all have the ability to get in front of a lot of people. Now, assuming I'm sure the majority of people on this call have Facebook pages, so you've already got an audience to start with. There's really no reason that you shouldn't put some thought into what types of things can we tell our audience. Let's put a content strategy together, and just in the same way that we might design an email content strategy, let's design a Facebook Live strategy that we can leverage and further broadcast our brand out to a lot of people. On the right here is another great example. Wild Zora comes up again. This is a great example of the fact that video is very multi-channel. What I mean by that is, if you look at this collage here, on the top you've got a website, the company website, where you can post video. Users to that, or visitors to that website, are going to be greeted with an awesome web page and rich content, a video that they are going to want to click on, probably view and get to know Wild Zora instantly, without having to read a lot of text. On the bottom left-hand corner, you see the videos obviously posted on YouTube, the second biggest search engine on the internet. Why is that important? Because people, and I'm sure everybody's done this in the past, have Googled things in the sense on YouTube to see, let's say they wanted to know how to do, looking for a how-to video, for example. I've done that many times. If you're putting content out there that you know your audience is going to be searching for on YouTube, there's a very good chance that you're going to be coming up in keywords. Gluten-free absolutely is something that people are Googling about. What is gluten-free? What does it mean? Why should I care? Things of that nature. On the bottom right-hand side, the video is being indexed by Google as well. So just like Facebook is going to have a little bias towards Facebook Live videos, Google knows that people like video, and so if you can publish video that is well produced, is correctly titled, and correctly tagged, you're going to start to show up organically in searches that you may not be if you hadn't produced that video. So the point is, I beat it to death a little bit, but the point is that today video is what people want. The barrier to entry to well produced videos is so low. And the payoff is so high that it's absolutely something that you want to dive into in terms of a content strategy. So with that, we'll jump from number 7 to number 6 on the list. Shocker, a little bit more Facebook Live. So this is important, guys. So I mentioned Facebook Live. Facebook Live is a very effective tool, and I want to just touch on a little bit more why that is today. So with Facebook Live, there's something called split screen Facebook Live, and there's a couple mechanics that I want to go over that I want you to understand in terms of split screen Facebook Live. Number one, as I mentioned before, it's rich media. There's something compelling about you seeing a video in your Facebook feed that's actually live, that's going on as we speak. So it draws people in that way. Another very important point: the notifications when a split screen Facebook Live is started goes out to everybody who is friends with Justin and Mike Brown in this case. So now, what does that mean to you? Let's say Hemp Fusion and another company, we're going to have kind of a discussion around gluten-free products, for example. If those two companies, which they do, had a base layer of a base foundation rather of a social audience, you've just exponentially grown the potential audience of that audience. Everybody on Hemp Fusion's audience and everybody on the other side's audience is going to be notified that the Facebook Live video is going on. That's a very important point. A lot of people don't understand that if I were to start a Facebook Live right now during this webinar, everybody who I'm friends with would get a notification, a pop-up on their phone saying that I was going live. That's a free push notification. There's huge value to that, and it doesn't cost a thing. So not only is the format of the video very compelling, but you're also getting these free pings to everybody in your audience and the other participant in the split screen Facebook Live's audience as well. The content lives forever. So after the Facebook Live that Justin and Mike do here, not only is it super compelling while they're doing it live, but once that video is finished, that video lives forever. And now we can go back to that multi-channel discussion that I was talking about earlier. Now you have a Facebook Live video that people can go back and reference forever. You can download that asset, splice it up and cut it into mini videos, post it on YouTube, post it on your website. It goes on and on. So the fact that it is a living asset after it's produced that lives forever, that you have a lot of options you can use in your marketing campaign is very important as well. So that covers those two things. I hope that makes a lot of sense. Again, it's just too easy. Really want to drive home the fact that it can be intimidating. I've had lots of conversations with people that get very nervous about the idea of jumping in front of Facebook Live. It's a casual thing. Of course, you can polish it up as a brand, but really there's no excuse not to, and the benefits are amazing. So let's go ahead and jump to the next slide, please. Oops. And Adam, I'll hand it over to you to talk a little bit about sampling networks.
Awesome. Thanks, Will. And as I'm sure it was obvious to everyone, but HempFusion didn't spend one penny to get 2,500 people to get exposed to their brand and have 18 people share that. And as a digital marketing firm, if we were to go out and try to pay to have that happen, it would cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a company to go out and get that kind of exposure. So in addition to all the other things that happen there, that the value of that is really amazing because it doesn't cost anything. All right, let's talk about sampling networks. All right, is this a tactic for 2018, 19, and 20? I believe for the gluten-free audience, it really is, especially if you have a consumable. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, I sell cakes. You know, I can't send samples of cakes. No problem. Used to be that, well, you can't play in the sampling space. Through technology and through some ingenuity, the approach to that has changed. What you're looking at right now are a couple different snapshots off of the Swagable sampling network. If you've never heard of Swagable, really fascinating group of guys and gals from the West Coast who have created a neat platform. And once again, we're going back to our friends at HempFusion here, for example. HempFusion went into the platform of Swagable and loaded their product profile. This one right here looks like HempFusion Stress. What do we know about that? So HempFusion says these are the characteristics of the product on Swagable's network, and this is just one example, folks, of a network. There's many other strong sampling networks out there. Bulu Box is something that we're probably all familiar with, and on and on. Sampler.com is another great network, but we're just going to give one example today, and this is Swagable. What makes Swagable interesting and unique? HempFusion loads up their profile. People in this network who have said, you know what, I'm a coffee drinker, I'm into fitness. I don't like this, I like the other. So the algorithm inside of Swagable says, whenever a product comes that is directly aligned for you, we're going to put it into your feed. And if it's on the periphery or collateral, we're going to let you know it's there and see if you'd like to be exposed to it. In addition, someone just searching around on the network who says, I haven't completed a profile, but I just like to type into the search window things that I'm interested in, they can find it as well. This product, I know, has been on Swagable for about 6 to 7 weeks. And you'll notice in the upper right corner there that 2,240 people in this network have obviously been exposed to this product, and they've proactively selected an engagement with that brand. They said, I'd be willing to take a sample of that. I want to try it. Think about that for a minute. So it's not just a one-way reading the newspaper, right? So it's a one-way, we're controlling the interaction. We've now made a conscious mental decision to say, I want to engage with that brand. Think about how powerful that is for your brand. If you can have 2,240 people who saw what you had to offer and said, I want to try that. That in and of itself has huge value. And oh, by the way, HempFusion has paid $0 for that at this point. They're just sitting there getting exposure. Notice what Swagable does also on the left-hand side, and this is a common theme that I'm sure we're sensing right now. But they make it really easy for that individual to share this product. I know for a fact that HempFusion, now once again, hemp is a really interesting topic right now, but many of your products out there are very interesting. Someone has a friend who's interested in your product, all they have to do is reach over there, and they can easily share that page with their Facebook group, their Pinterest group, Google+, or Twitter as well. Let's look real briefly at the bottom there. So if HempFusion never wanted to do anything else, they just have their profile up there and just get this free billboard space, if you will. That's kind of a neat value add. And Swagable doesn't charge for that. So how does Swagable make money, you might ask, and it's a good point. So they do offer the ability to send out samples. On the bottom left there, you can see that, let's say you have a small pouch. Maybe you have some gluten-free gummy bears, let's just say, for example. You send them to Swagable, and they'll send them out for $1 per person, and they'll send them out to people who have already said they want to try the product. So for $1, you've got your product in front of a potential long-term client, certainly someone who, or client, customer, someone who's interested. What they also allow you to do is once you've sent that, they will send a follow-up email to that group and drive them to your website where they encourage them to purchase. Now, it's up to you, but they encourage, and we would too as a marketing firm, to put your best foot forward and concede a little margin up front to acquire a new customer, and now you're going to have their email address and you can market to them in the future. And if you know what the lifetime value is of a new to file customer, then let's say you give 50% off of your product, which we all cringe, right? Because that really cuts in the margin. But if we can give, let's just say that, for example, 50% off plus the cost of shipping, while I'm still making a couple bucks on this acquisition, for many of us, that might make a lot of sense because we're getting paid to acquire new customers, and we've got the ability to market to them in the future and increase that lifetime value. So you can also just send randomly coupons to folks as well, and that's the middle shopping cart right there, and that gives an option as well. So that's one example of a great shopping cart that we believe could be real valuable for you guys in the future. Will, I'm going to hand it back to you. I'd like you to talk about influencer marketing. This is a really special area, guys, that technology has allowed you to have much more control and much more pinpoint accuracy and potency with your efforts and your dollars moving forward. So, Will, why don't you talk to us a little bit about influencer marketing?
Sure. Thanks, Adam. Influencer marketing is up there with Facebook Live as one of the newest, most intriguing ways to market a business. And so let me explain a little bit about what influencer marketing is. Influencer marketing is the idea that there are well, first of all, there's tons of people talking about tons of things on the internet. We can all agree. Now, wouldn't it be cool if, based on what I'm selling, I could go find people on the internet who have good reviews online, they have good traction online, they have high traffic, they have an engaged audience, things of that nature. If we could find those people that were talking about keywords and topics related to my product. Now, why would that be important? If we can do that, that means that we can go engage with these people, introduce them to our product, and have them do something like a product review that in the form of a blog post that includes a video, let's say, for example. Now, all of a sudden, we as a brand have a related party, but an unaffiliated party, talking about our brand on our behalf in a positive light. That's a very powerful concept. Not only is it somebody else talking about our brand in a positive light, giving a great product review, things of that nature, but technically, from a search engine optimization standpoint, it becomes very, very powerful. Everybody maybe not everybody has heard of backlinks. Backlinks are one of the foundational components to an SEO strategy, and what that means is other websites linking back to your website. That tells search engines that you are relevant to people and that you're somewhat important. That's how they view that. So influencer marketing, by way of tools like GroupHive, for example, you can go out and search literally millions of blogs on the internet for specific keywords, and let's say gluten-free, for example. So if I type gluten-free into GroupHive, what I can do is find all of the blogs sorted by highest rating online, and that's a combination of a bunch of different factors. And like I said, traffic, engagement, and customer reviews of those blogs. I can get a list of everybody who's talking about gluten-free. Now what happens is I can go out and engage with those people, and it becomes a little bit of a relationship management play, but you can see how it can be an extremely compelling component of any digital marketing strategy. If we can go out and find people talking about things that are related to our products, gluten-free, for example, and get them to engage with us in a conversation that ends up being broadcasted out to their audience, there's loads of benefits to that. So that's kind of a high-level explanation of what influencer marketing is and the benefits of that. And I think the only thing I missed at the bottom there was that it's measurable. You can absolutely see referral traffic with even the most basic analytics on your website. It's a great way to measure the ROI of that spend, that influencer marketing spend. Okay, I engaged with 3 influencers over the course of 30 days. I got 3 product reviews. 2 of them did a video. You can start to see how much of your traffic, was there a spike at all? If there was a bump in traffic, am I getting, or can I award some of that credit to some of those influencers that I reached out to? So it can be a little bit time consuming in the sense that in building and managing any relationship, takes some work, but the work is absolutely worth it because as I've stated again, to have other people talking about your product and about your brand in a positive light to a audience, no less, that might, there's a good chance have never heard of you, is a very powerful thing. So influencer marketing, absolutely recommended, number 4 on our list. So if we can jump to the next slide, please. Number 3, so we're making our way down the home stretch now. Number 3 is just content in general. Content is king. Long live the king. If you're not putting content out there, you are not even giving yourself a chance to run in the race. Now that doesn't mean just put out a bunch of content that's of low quality. What it does mean is to develop a content strategy that includes things like articles, videos, social posts, graphics, infographics, things of that nature, that because you know your audience, that your audience is going to find valuable. That's not that hard to put yourself in your customer's shoes, identify what would be of value to them in terms of content. Then it just becomes a matter of deciding what channels make sense. Is that a blog post? Is that a video? Is that an infographic? And develop a long-term strategy that's not just a one-off. You want to develop some consistency, and that benefits your audience, but it also benefits the search engines. They pay attention to things like how frequently and how consistently does a website put out content, or email marketers do the exact same thing. Email wants to know how often you're sending out emails. You can get higher ratings by sending out consistent, frequent content that is highly rated to your audience. So you've got to break through, and the way you break through is by spending some time up front developing a strategy, really paying attention to what is going to be of value to your audience, and you will reap the benefits of that. There's a difference between putting out content just to put out content and really spending some time understanding your audience and understanding what's going to be of value to them, because what's going to happen is when they receive that content, people like to share valuable content. So not only are you helping your audience, but there's a decent chance that if they find an infographic that's very compelling, that's beautiful, and that's very educational about gluten-free products, for example, that they're going to share that content. People share content because they really enjoy it, and they think to themselves, hey, this is great content. There's probably somebody in my network that would appreciate it too. Click of a button. But the point is that's obviously extremely powerful, because now your content becomes exponential. So let's take a look at the graph up there at the bottom. It's kind of a generic graph, but it's a very interesting one. And that graph is a chart of the traffic to one of our clients that decided in early 2000 or late 2015 to very much invest in their content strategy. They did everything right. They knew their audience. We were able to work with them to put together content calendars that made a lot of sense to their audience. By partnering, we were able to produce awesome content in a very consistent format. And what you see is traffic slowly increasing over time to the point where it's made a drastic impact in their business. And so this is just one example of, if you are willing to put in the time to put content together, produce content, and put it out to the channels that make sense, which could be a whole nother webinar, making sure that each piece of content is formatted correctly for its audience and designed correctly for its audience, pays off, period, end of story. So hopefully that's a good argument for why content is so important. You just can't argue against it, really, and this is just a great case study of that. So with that, to bring us down the home stretch, I'll pass it over back to you, Adam.
Okay, thanks, Will. Once again, there's a whole series of webinars that could be given on content, but I think we've really touched on it there. I did want to go back. A lot of the things you're seeing today are not expensive. One thing about the influencer outreach, there are some influencers, especially friends and family, that will do it for free. But I just want to make sure everyone knows that good influencers will charge money, and so that has to be part of the equation. The old adage, Kim Kardashian used to get $25,000 or probably more for one tweet. What we're sensing, guys, is that as we're transitioning into the late 2000 teens, that people really long for and thirst for authenticity. And micro influencers, so I would be considered a micro influencer, and I've got 1,000 friends on Facebook and 1,000 on LinkedIn or so. But there's authenticity. There's more authenticity when I tell you, hey, I love these new potato chips. These are amazing. I've been eating them all week, and they're the greatest thing, than if a linebacker in the NFL says the same thing. Now, that's going to have some value, certainly to a lot of folks. But the more personal the influencer can relate to that individual, the more it's going to have some staying power. And we're going to touch about that on number one. But let's get to number number two. If you're in the gluten-free space, you probably know about Thrive Market. If not, check it out. It really is the Whole Foods of online. They like to kind of tag themselves, but it's a shopping network for natural products, and gluten-free is very well represented there. So number two is, all right, Amazon, Jet.com, Thrive Market, my own shopping cart. It's overwhelming. Do I have to be on more than one? Can I just do it all on Amazon? Should I be on Amazon? So this is a big question. It's almost a strategic question because you'll note the asterisk there. So once again, these are not absolutes, but I'd like you to think about this philosophy. Why not? If my marketing approach is speak to my target audience, acquire my audience where they like to be acquired, speak to my audience where they like to be spoken to, speak to them how they like to be spoken to. Some people hang out on Amazon. If we're not on Amazon, are we missing out on an opportunity to sell our product or at least get visibility? Maybe. What about our own cart? Well, we control the message on our cart. We have higher margins on our cart. Why would I want to sell everything on Amazon if I could have that experience, especially if I've invested quite a bit of money to put my own website together? Should I be selling my product on my own cart? What about Jet? What about Thrive Market? I encourage you to look at all those platforms and really talk with your marketing team and talk it through. But if you take a couple steps back, look down on it and say, is my potential audience going to be hanging out on one of these networks? And that's where they like to hang out, and that's where they like to be exposed to products. And if so, should I be exposing my product to them with value propositions and features and benefits? And frequently, the answer is yes. All right, guys, let's go to number one here. And you thought there was just going to be one big thing right in the middle of the screen, but there's a reason why we listed 6 check marks here. And I want to speak about it generally, and then I'm going to touch real quick on each one of these, and then we're going to hand it back to Jen, and hopefully there's a few questions out there. Do you remember when you were a little kid and your mama said, treat others as you want to be treated? Think about other people first, and you're going to be successful in life. Think about how that kind of translates to our business. Because if you believe in that adage, which I think most of us generally agree that's true, how do we want to be treated when we're being presented someone to buy a new car or buy a new candy bar? We want them to relate to us personally and how that's going to benefit me and my family and the things that are important to me. So the better you can communicate to someone and speak to them personally. So if I said, the organizer of this webinar will be with us to respond to questions, it doesn't ring quite as true if I say, hey, Jen Cafferty, the founder of Gluten Free Media Group, is going to be talking to us. It just feels warmer, doesn't it? And we're all human and we relate to that. So figure out ways that you can strive to that one-to-one personal engagement. So how do we do that? I don't have a big marketing budget. I can barely do the things I have to do. I'd love to do this, but I can't do that. That's understood. But you can start working away at it, chipping away at it. Go down to the 4th bullet. Always collect data. Always get information. Figure out what's working. Analyze it. None of us have to be a rocket science to figure out if things are getting better or worse, and especially if we've changed a variable. then we can at least make an assessment of that, because that provides knowledge. When we have knowledge, we can adjust what we're doing to make things more personalized. And if we make things more personalized, we're optimizing that experience with our audience. If someone came to your company and bought blue widgets for their car, and someone came in and bought green hoop-de-doos for their tennis shoes, when we message to them via email, if we could speak to the tennis shoe folks and then the car folks specifically about, we wouldn't want to send something to the tennis shoe crowd about, hey, they could get a new fender for their car. Well, there might be a little practicality for that, but they're probably looking for ways to get new shoelaces and get new socks and actually the up-and-coming shoes, and maybe you can turn your shoes in and get a discount on your new, that relates to them, right? Easy example, but it's true. So the more personalization we can do, the better chance we have at keeping that as a long-term relationship. And if you've got long-term relationship, you've got revenue. You're going to make your business is going to be successful. Build your list, build your lists, build your community. You do that, you've got the ability to control the message, you've got the ability to move people's thoughts, move their actions. The second one up there, they're all related. But be authentic, be real, be consistent, just like we like in all of our relationships. We don't want someone to come into our lives and give us, say nice things and do nice things and then disappear for 2 years and not communicate with us. That doesn't feel normal to us, right? We like consistency. We like things that are interesting. And if you can do it, make things a little bit fun, maybe add a little humor in there, but got to be good at that. There's nothing worse than a bad joke. And look at the last one down there, guys, and I'm getting ready to hand it back to Jim, but I think this is important. You've put your heart and soul and your passion into your business. And you've got a great product, and you know it's going to help change lives and make people happier, improve their wellness, and add to the collective goodness of this world. But it's difficult, right? It's competitive. You've got limited resources. And while you might know how to bake a great gluten-free cake and maybe even get a website done, you don't know marketing or you don't have the time and expertise to do that. So if you have questions, ask, just like you would in anything else that you would do in your business, because this marketing is important and technology is always changing, and the way we relate to something today might not be the way we relate to it 5 years from now. You know, think about the social platforms that were in existence 10 years ago and that aren't here today, and I guarantee 2 or 3 years from now, there's going to be the newest thing that's going to replace Snapchat maybe and Instagram and everything else. So ask, and people do want to help you. They want to see that you're, they do want to help you be successful, and they're willing to help. All right, gang, I'm going to hand it back to Jen. Really appreciate your attention to this. I really hope some of these nuggets were helpful, and you're going to get this presentation, and I encourage you to review it with some of your marketing people, maybe some other folks in the business, and see if you can pull some nuggets out of here and maybe incrementally improve some of the things you're doing. And I wish you the best of success. So, Jen, let's turn it back to you, see if we have a couple questions.
Thanks, both of you. I learned a lot, so I hope everyone else did. And I'd love to have you come back and talk more about both Facebook Live as well as content. I think that's amazing. And although I apologize to Will, I popped that poll up because I don't really know how to do these webinars yet. But in the 2 seconds that it was up, 87% of you voted. And I take that back. 70% of you voted, but 87% of the people on the call are not using Facebook Live, which I think is really interesting. And so one of the questions that we got was, when you're doing that split screen Facebook Live, and I was thinking about it just even at our Gluten Free Expos, where we could be doing a split screen and sharing, you know, multiple brands and things. Is it only 2 brands that can be on there? Do you have to be together? How does that work?
I'll answer that real quick, Will, and if you have some comments, you can add to it. But the answer to your question is think about having maximum flexibility. So the answer is you can add more than one other person. You could have 3 or 4, and they can be on 4 corners of the earth. As long as they have good connectivity, they can be in China, Australia, the United States, and England, and off you go. So pretty cool.
Jen, the only thing that I would add to that, and I know I mentioned this before, but I think it's very, very important, so in case anybody missed it, but let's say us 3, we're going to be doing a Facebook Live, and let's pretend we're all brands, right? When we start that Facebook Live, everybody who has liked your page, Jen, everybody who has liked Adam's page, and everybody who's liked my page gets a notification, which means that it pops up on their phone. This isn't a passive notification that they only see when they go into Facebook. On an iPhone, for example, to let's say it's 5,500 people collectively between our 3 pages, 5,500 people would get a notification that pops up and makes a noise if it's not on vibrate on their phone saying, "Will, Adam, and Jen are going live right now." Now that may not be super cool to us 3 as people, but you pretend that we're brands. That's a lot of people, even if they don't go into the video and listen to the Facebook Live, which is hard not to do because of that kind of just coolness factor, because it's going on live. Who doesn't like to watch that? But they all get to see your name. They all get to see the brands. So it's almost worth doing the Facebook Live just because you get to send that free push notification to everybody who's liked your audience and anybody that you're sharing a split screen with. So just thought I'd add that as well.
I'm going to be the crazy person at the Gluten Free Expos now doing Facebook Live things. So like if you're an exhibitor at our expos, watch out because I got to figure this one out. I'm excited about that.
You know what?
I didn't know that existed.
Yeah, it's incredible. And the thing is, it's not crazy. It's normal. And that's the way you have to approach it is if you see a 16-year-old walking around Expo West doing Facebook Live, that would be not abnormal at all. And that's the way I think as older people and as brands, we need to embrace that. A lot of times, let's say for the people who do know Facebook Live, they're super intimidated that everything has to be perfect. On Facebook Live. Not the case. It's a very casual medium. Now you have the option to spruce that up and polish that up, as we've done a little bit with our clients, and Hemp Fusion is a good example of that. But everybody knows that it's live. They're not expecting the nightly news to be perfectly produced. They're expecting a live video stream, which isn't going to be perfect, and there's going to be maybe there is a little bit of background noise, and you're walking around. But the point is, it's just fine and it's okay, and it's just a great opportunity to touch your brand and to deliver a valuable message.
All right, we have a couple more questions. Can you use the video for other purposes other than live feeds on Facebook?
A little bit of a nebulous question, but Adam, if you want to take a stab at it.
And I've got 2 more if we can squeeze them in quick. If not, we'll email everybody.
Absolutely.
I'll do it real quick. I'll jump in there real quick. If we're speaking just about just about Facebook videos, you can edit those videos, and there's applicabilities for that. You can link to them from a newsletter. You can link to them from your website if you want. You can chop and edit those videos and utilize them in multiple venues. So that's just for a Facebook video, and certainly if you create another video, you're only limited really by your creativity to a certain extent. But we personally put them on websites, we use them in newsletters, we put them on YouTube, and we'll also show them sometimes at expos. We'll put them on a big screen so it can play on a reel. So I hope that gives you some tools to think about.
The only thing I would add to that, Jen, is that there's no wrong answer. Everybody's a smart person on this webinar, and if you feel that it's necessary and appropriate to get in front of Facebook Live and talk or to show something, it probably makes sense. And so don't restrict yourself. I mean, there's really no rules, and as I said, everybody's smart, and no one's going to do anything silly. So the chances are you're just fine. You're just fine no matter how you want to use Facebook Live.
Okay, we've got 2 more questions. We'll stay on past the hour and get them done. So anybody that needs to hop off, we'll send the video link and all of that in an email later. But we'll go through our last 2 questions. Adam and Will, do you have 5 more minutes to stay on with us?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. What's your take on Instagram stories? They're more fun because they're shorter. They're more amusing. Let's see, I can't read what I'm reading here. Anyways, what's your take on Instagram stories versus Facebook Live?
Sure. Instagram, Facebook, isn't this crazy, guys? I mean, Facebook is really a mature social platform right now. It happens to be the largest, as I think we all know, the largest social network that's ever been created on the planet. Depending on what day it is, a market value of some $350 billion or more. So it is massive. You can't ignore it. Instagram obviously is different. It's much more image-based. But and think about Snapchat. You know, when Snapchat first came out, I have to admit I was one of the people who said, "How in the world is this going to become a marketable venue?" But that's one of the neat things about our society. We figure this stuff out. Some frequently for good, sometimes a little frustratingly because everything becomes about marketing. But in Instagram, they're figuring out ways to have more utility with their brand because we demand it as a society, and they can monetize that in different ways. So we like Instagram a lot. You have the ability to now basically put videos on Instagram, and when you can do videos, you can tell a story in 10 or 15 seconds, and you can match words that go along with it. And just like all the other social networks, people can share that. It's a great network for sharing. It gets shared probably. The engagement rate with Instagram is higher than it is with Facebook, for example. So we like stories on Instagram, and it's becoming very prolific, although it's still in the early ages. So if you're good about that, if you're good at that, and you can get some brand ambassadors to do some similar things with their accounts, we love it right now because frankly, it has some newness to it, and not everybody is doing it, although it kind of starting to seem that way. But if that's something you feel like you've got some skills at, or if you want to try, kind of piggyback on what Will said, get out there and do it. Protect your brand image, but you know what that is, and then go for it. So I hope that helps a little bit.
No,
Sure.
my teenage daughter has thousands and thousands of people that follow her dog thing on Instagram, and it's amazing to me. And I keep saying, "Can't you come and do that for us?" So it's a
Well,
And I was gonna-
she can be a well-paid influencer. We'll get her on Groupie, and now she's going to be the breadwinner in the Cafferty home because she's got this massive.
Totally fine with me. I would love that. I'm happy to hand that one over.
To add to that, Jen, Instagram skews much younger, and those
Yes.
Instagram stories are Instagram's answer to Snapchat. And my quick response to the question is give the people what they want. Instagram turned down a $3 billion acquisition for a reason, and it's because we go so fast these days that those 10-second videos people just absolutely love. The one piece of advice I would give for Snapchat or Instagram stories: tell a story. That's what people want to know. Don't get on there and say buy our product every single time. And here's your one book reference. So everybody listening, write the name of this book down. It's called Jab, 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 Right Hook. It's a boxing reference. Said another way, give, 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 ask. You want to tell your story. Give some behind the scenes looks using Facebook stories. Let people meet team members. Show people where you're formulating your product. Show the awesome warehouse guys doing their thing. Things like that. That's telling a story. That's behind the scenes. That's something that's very compelling. Do that a few times, and then you can mix in an ask. You can absolutely market. But Gary Vaynerchuk, who is probably the thought leader on social media marketing, wrote that book. And Jab, 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 Right Hook essentially tells you how to tell your story on each of the platforms, which is very, very, very important. You never want to take one piece of content and share it on multiple platforms the exact same way. That's not how it works. And Gary likens it to party scenarios. You would never go to a gala and dress or act the same way that you would a watch party for a football game. Each of the social media networks are different venues, so to speak, and there's a different way to act, a different way to talk and to speak in each of those, and you want to do that so that you don't feel obscure when you are putting out your message. So all that to say, do Instagram stories for sure.
Okay, I've got one more question. Oh, Andrea, I miss you. Hi. We will set up a Facebook Live event sometime soon. That's so exciting. My old friends are appearing on here that I haven't seen in ages. Oh,
Jen, was there a question about?
here we go. Ready?
Yeah,
The
go ahead.
last one's about sales. Is it more important to drive customers to the store to purchase the product or to sell online? This person's heard that the best way to track the effectiveness of a digital marketing strategy is to track online sales.
That is the quintessential question for many businesses out there, and there is no definitive answer because a lot of it depends on where your core business is, where your bread's being buttered. We as a digital market, as a strategic firm, we can go in and often move the needle very quickly, and we can generate sales. But it might not be the best approach all the time, or at least with a certain intensity, because it potentially could pressure what's going on the retail side. For example, easy example, if we came in and offered 50% off all products and your MAP pricing is 20% off, and your retailers get wind that you're selling your products for 50% off online, you risk really ticking off some retailers and them just dropping you. And assuming that your retail business is providing more revenue than your online business, that would not be a good strategic move. So there does need to be some strategic thought and planning that goes into this. It's tempting. Online traditionally has a greater margin, and so that's very enticing to all of us. And we can control the message, and we can build our community right there. But there are some benefits, obviously, I think that we all understand, to brick and mortar, especially if we can get on board with, say, a Whole Foods, for example, that has hundreds and thousands of stores. If we can get in that channel and get great distribution into that, that's obviously a really strong partner for us, potentially. So the answer is, it's not a short answer. It needs to be well thought out. But if you say, look, I just want to go direct to consumer, I'm not brick and mortar, then that's a whole different approach. And then it's about, how do I maximize the conversion on my website and the traffic to the site. But if you're playing in both spaces, traditionally what we see, guys, and this varies, right? So this is a general statement that can vary. If someone's master is their retail space, and then their secondary business is online, that generally, once it settles out, is going to be somewhere between 10 and 20%. Can be a little bit less, can certainly be more, but it's probably somewhere in that range. And then it's a matter of growing that while you also enhance to the retail stores. One of the tactics we could have put on here was how digital marketing is now driving traffic and tracking it to retail space. We didn't talk about affiliate marketing today at all. It's a big play, but affiliate marketers generally will drive traffic to the website, and they'll take a commission if they drive that traffic and it converts into sales. Now the networks are getting very good at being able to drive traffic, following traffic to a retail store, having some sort of trackable element, and then getting a commission off of that. So there is now technology on the digital side that's able to enhance the experience on the retail side while also maintaining it on the digital side. I know that's kind of a general statement, but I hope I touched on some points that are really important to think about. And it really just depends on where you are situated, where's your footprint in time and space, and how you want to approach it moving forward. Will, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I would just summarize by saying that you absolutely, especially for people who are engaged with retailers, you want to respect that relationship, and it absolutely can be done. I mean, you can absolutely sell online and sell in retail stores, but the key to the question is ROI, and ROI to calculating ROI when it comes to an internet marketing budget becomes extremely difficult. When you go offline to those retailers, it becomes very easy and extremely effective to track dollars spent to revenue when you're specifically talking about online. So I think the person who asked the question is absolutely right in the sense that it is more trackable, dollars spent to revenue produced online as opposed to the retailers. Not that it can't be done, it just becomes very hard to track. PPC spend, for example, to increase revenue month over month, things of that nature.
All right, well, thanks everybody. I'm sorry we went a few minutes over, but there were such good questions. I appreciate Adam and Will spending time with us, all of you taking time today. Our next webinar, I think, is in a month, although we're going to try and somehow fit Samir in there with another Facebook one because people wanted that. And then I took notes on the topics that we kept saying, oh, we can do more on this and more on that. So maybe we'll send a survey out and see which of those topics, those of you that are on here today, really want Adam and Will to dig into more. But thank you to everybody. I hope you have a fabulous day, and we'll see you all soon. Take care.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.